Today let's do this question on retirement of partner. I'll read out the question. XY is it where partners share in profits in the ratio of 1/2, 1/3 and 1/6 respectively. The balance sheet of the firm as of 31st March 2012 was as follows. On the liability side, we have sundry creditors 24,000, reserve fund 12,000, and the capital accounts of the partners have been given. On the asset side, cash at bank, debtors, stock, motor vans, plant and machinery, and factory building is given. Now, Y retires on 1st April 2012 subject to the following adjustments. The goodwill of the firm is to be valued at rupees 18,000 and Y's share of the same be adjusted to that of X and Z. And X and Z are going to share their future profits in the ratio of 3:1. Plant to be depreciated by 10% and motor van by 15%. Stock to be appreciated by 20% and building to be appreciated by 10%. The provision for doubtful debts to be increased by rupees 1,950. Now we have to prepare the revaluation account, partners capital account, and the balance sheet of the firm after Y's retirement. So let's start with the preparation of revaluation account first. Now first of all, plant and motor van is to be depreciated. Plant is to be depreciated by 10% and motor van by 15%. So that will be revaluation to plant account to motor van account. So here to plant account. Now this is the value of plant is given as 35,000 and it is to be depreciated by 10%. So 35,000 into 10%, that comes to 3,500. Next is two motor vans. The amount given in the initial balance sheet is 8,000 rupees and it is to be depreciated by 15%, right? So 8,000 into 15%, it comes to 1,200 rupees. Okay, now look at this. Stock to be appreciated by 20% and building by 10%. So these assets are appreciating, so it will come on the credit side. So to stock account, it is appreciating by 20% and the value of stock is 25,000, right? So 25,000 into 20%, that comes to 5,000 rupees. Then you have to building account. The value of building is 45,000 here and it is appreciating by 10%. So 45,000 into 10% is 4,500. Now the next thing that is given here, the provision for doubtful debts to be increased by rupees 1,950. It has to be increased by 1,950. So that means the liabilities are increasing by 1,950. Provision for doubtful debts is a liability, right? To provision for doubtful debts is increasing by 1,950. Okay, that's all. Goodwill will not come in the revaluation account, that is a capital account, right? Okay, so now you have to find out the profit or loss on revaluation. In this case, it will be a profit on revaluation. The credit side total is coming to be 9,500, and here you have to profit transferred to X capital account, Y's capital account, and Z's capital account. And this is 9,500 minus 3,500 minus 1,200 minus 1,950. So that comes to 2,850. Now this 2,850 is to be distributed in their old ratio, that is 1/2, 1/3 and 1/6. Now the old ratio is given as X is equal to 1/2, Y is equal to 1/3 and Z is equal to 1/6, right? So this is 1/2 is to 1/3 is to 1/6. So if you take a common denominator in this case, this is 6 here, and here it will be 3 is to 2 is to 1. So the old ratio is 3 is to 2 is to 1. So this profit that you have got here, this profit is to be distributed in the ratio of 3 is to 2 is to 1. 2,850 into 3 divided by 6, that will come to 1,425. 2,850 into 2 divided by 6, that will come to 950, and 2,850 into 1 divided by 6 will come to 475, right? So this is your revaluation account. Now let's move to the partner's capital account. Now in the partner's capital account, the first thing we do is buy balance brought down of all the partners, 40,000, 30,000 and 25,000, right? Now there is a reserve fund in the balance sheet. Here, this reserve fund is again to be distributed in their ratio, old ratio. So 12,000 is the reserve fund. So 12,000 into 3 divided by 6. So that comes to 6,000. 12,000 into 2 divided by 6 comes to 4,000, and 12,000 into 1 divided by 6 comes to 2,000, right? Now the revaluation profit has to be given by revaluation account. So the profit that we just distributed, 1,425, 950 and 475. 1,425, 950 and 475. Now let's come to the calculation of, this is the old ratio. Now let's first of all find out what is the gaining ratio. Here in this case, the old ratio is 3:2:1 and Y is retiring, right? So the new ratio is also given, that is 3:1. Now we have to find the gaining ratio. Gaining ratio is equal to the new ratio minus old ratio. So X gaining ratio will be equal to 3/4 minus 3/6. So that comes to 6 here, and sorry, not 6, 4 and 6. If you take out the LCM, it will be 12, right? 3 3s are 9 minus 2 3s are 6. So that this will be 3 divided by 12. Fine. Now Y is retiring, so Z's gaining ratio will be equal to 1/4 minus 1/6. Again here this will be 12, and this will be 3 minus 2. So this is equal to 1 divided by 12. So the gaining ratio is equal to 3:1. Fine. Now let's find out the goodwill. It's given that the goodwill of the firm is equal to 18,000. And Y's share is equal to 2 divided by 6. So Y's share of goodwill will be equal to 18,000 into 2 divided by 6. That will be equal to 6,000 rupees, right? Now this 6,000 is to be distributed among the continuing partners in their gaining ratio, that is 3:1. So for X it is going to be 6,000 into 3 divided by 4. 3 divided by 4, that comes to 4,500. And for for Z, it will be equal to 6,000 into 1 divided by 4, that is equal to 1,500, like this, right? So what will be the journal entry here? The journal entry is X and Z will be debited, so it will be like this: X capital account debit 4,500, Z's capital account debit 1,500 to Y's capital account, that is 6,000, right? So let's put this in the capital accounts now. Now here it will be by X capital account and by Z's capital account. This will come in Y, right? So this will be, for X it was 4,500 and for Z it was 1,500, and on the debit side they will write to Y's capital account $4,500 for X and 1,500 for Z. Okay, that's it. Now we have to find out how much is to be given to Y, and that will be transferred to Y's loan account. So first of all, let's do this. For Y it is 30,000 plus 4,000 34,000 plus 950 plus 4,500 plus 1,500, that comes to 40,950, right? Okay, so this is the amount that is to be given to Y, and here we will put it as to Y's loan account 40,950, right? And then you will have two balance carried down. This will be the balances of the other partners. So 40,000 plus 6,000 plus 1,425, it comes to 47,425, and here 25 plus 227, so this is 27,475, right? So here you have to write down the balances of the continuing partners. So this is 47,425, and here it is 4950, and here it is 27,475. Okay, now the balance for X will be 42,925, and this is for Z 27,475 minus 1,500. This will be 25,975, right? Okay. Now let's come to the balance sheet. Here in the balance sheet, first of all, the liability side, sundry creditors, no change here, so it's 24,000, right? And Y's loan account 40,950, right? That's a liability. And the capital accounts of X and Z, the balances that we have found out now. So for X it was 42,925, and for Y it was 25,975. Okay, so the total of this comes to 42,925 plus 25,975 is 68,900. Now let's come to the asset side. Cash at bank, it's 2,500, right? Debtors, now the amount of debtors was 16,000, and the provision was increased by 1,950. Earlier the provision was 500, so 500 plus 1,950, that comes to 2,450. So this amount has to be subtracted, right? So it comes to 13,550. Stock was appreciated. So 25,000 was the value of the stock, 5,000 was appreciated, so it becomes 30,000. Motor vans were depreciated. So initial value of motor vans were 8,000, and the depreciation amount was 1,200, right? So here it comes to 6,800, right? Then you had plant and machinery, again it got depreciated. So the actual amount was 35,000 minus 3,500. So that is 31,500. Then factory building, that was appreciated. 45,000 was the initial value, and it appreciated by 10%, so 4,500. So that becomes 49,500. So that's it. So now let's tally this balance sheet. Both sides should be equal. Let's take up the liabilities side first. 24,000 plus 40,950 plus 68,900. It comes to 1,33,850. and this 2,500 plus 13,550 plus 30,000 plus 6,800 plus 31,500 plus 49,500, it comes to 1,33,850. So that's how you will solve this question. So with this I come to the end of this session. Bye.